You're listening to the Across the Middle Show with John Kuzmo. We have the Josh Jacobs story today. We're also going to talk about Christian Gonzales. So let's start with Josh Jacobs. The Josh Jacobs situation has gotten worse since we last talked about it. Josh Jacobs recently tweeted out bad business. He's growing frustrated with how the Raiders are handling his contract. It's not a good sign for Josh Jacobs and the Raiders. These two sides might be having a falling out. I think that's the last thing that the Raiders want. They need Josh Jacobs if they want any chance at being successful this upcoming season. Well, it seems like the two sides are growing apart. Josh Jacobs is unhappy with the Raiders. I think the Raiders are really making a big mistake on this one because you look at what Josh Jacobs brings to the table, an electric running back that just makes big play after big play for that team. A guy that is one of the biggest contributors for that Raiders offense. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo needs Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Devontae Adams, he needs Josh Jacobs in the backfield because teams that are balanced tend to win more often. You know, if you can play action, that's going to open up more big plays for Devontae Adams. It's going to help Jimmy Garoppolo. You need Josh Jacobs to be able to play action. I just don't understand what the Raiders are doing. I think Mark Davis has to step in and just open up the checkbook and give Josh Jacobs whatever he wants because they don't step up and pay this guy. They're going to risk souring the relationship that they have. And when you have one of the best running backs in the league, a guy who was the best running back in the league this past year, those plays he was making were so explosive, and he was doing it routinely. The last thing you want to do is lose a player like that because it's just going to take too much away from your football team. The Raiders should know better. I think the Raiders should be the team that goes outside the box and kind of says, these running back limitations that we're seeing as far as contracts go, we're not going to go that same route because we have a guy that we feel is truly special. Josh Jacobs doesn't feel that way right now. He feels like he's being mistreated. Tweeted out, like I said, bad business by the Raiders. I just don't know what the Raiders are doing on this one. They're going to risk losing Josh Jacobs. He's going to take his ball and go home eventually and just say the hell with it and be done with the situation. That's not what you want to do. You want to take care of your best players. Josh Jacobs is clearly one of the best players on that Raiders roster. There's no debating that. Everybody who's listening to this podcast is obviously a football fan. You guys know how good Josh Jacobs is. Can you imagine the Raiders going into this season without Josh Jacobs? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, they won 6 games last year with Josh Jacobs. You take him out of the picture, you can stick a fork in Josh McDaniels. That's it for him. It's over because he's not going to have a winning season if Josh Jacobs isn't there. Basically, the Raiders are wasting their time without Josh Jacobs. I think we can all agree with that. Well, Josh Jacobs is extremely frustrated. He's growing tired of the situation. It sounds like he's ready to move on to a different team unless things change very quickly. So at this point, the Raiders are playing with fire. They're going to risk losing one of their best players over a contract. I understand that this is the way the league is going with these running back contracts. I just don't think it's the right move for a team like the Raiders with Josh Jacobs, a team like the Giants with Saquon Barkley. Those are the guys you got to keep. You know, somebody has to be an outlier. And, you know, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, those are the guys that, yeah, the trend might be heading this way where we're not paying running backs like we used to. But Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, those are the guys that still deserve to be paid. They have to be paid. Because if you don't pay Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, then, you know, you're just letting good players walk away. That's not how you win in the National Football League, whether it's a running back or not. I know Todd Gurley, you know, kind of fell off in the blink of an eye. I know Le'Veon Bell kind of fell off in a blink of an eye. Still, though, you know, Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, those guys earned another contract. Look at what they did this past year. There's no debating whether or not they earned another contract. To me, only giving a running back a 1-year deal, I don't know about that. You know, there's been teams in the past that were given long-term deals to running backs and had a lot of success. So don't tell me it can't work at all. I understand why it's going this way, but don't tell me it can't work at all, because we've seen it work so many times in the past. The next story we have is the Christian Gonzales story. Christian Gonzales is lighting it up for the Patriots. The top corner, according to Albert Breer, he was the top corner at OTAs. You look at Christian Gonzales. I went back and watched his Oregon film. Bill Belichick sees this corner out of Oregon, just lighting it up in the Pac-12, just playing great football, dominating on the defensive side of the ball. A guy that can come up and run support, a guy that can come up on bubble screens and get dirty when it comes to tackling. A guy that, if he loses a step to the wide receiver, has recovery speed and can get back in position to make the interception. I mean, a physical player, he's not just a pass defender. He, like I said, he comes up and runs support. It comes up on bubble screens. If it's a toss play, you're going to see him come up and stick his nose in the fan. That's an old football saying for, he comes up and, he gets low. He gets into your legs and flips you over head over heels, does the helicopter tackle. When you see the offensive ball carrier go head over heels and land on their head. I love a defender like that, a defender that's not afraid to come up and just put his shoulder into somebody, a guy that doesn't shy away from contact, a guy that, even though he plays a primarily pass defense position, he's still a defender at the end of the day and will help out when it comes to tackling, just because he's a playmaker. He's an all-around player. He's a playmaker on the defensive side of the ball. You can see why Bill Belichick went with Christian Gonzales. Bill Belichick loves his defense. He's a defensive-minded coach. Even though he's the head coach, he's basically the defensive coordinator too. He calls the plays on defense, so to say. So you can see why he wanted Christian Gonzales. He wanted another playmaker on the defensive side of the ball. Then you look at what Bill Belichick does. He loves to blitz. He loves to blitz. He loves to play man coverage. Well, when you have someone like Christian Gonzales, it makes being able to play man coverage a lot easier, because Christian Gonzales is going to back it up. He's going to stick on his man's hip and make plays. We've seen him do that at Oregon plenty of times. He already proved he can do those things. When I watched him in man coverage at Oregon, I mean, like I said, if a receiver did get a step on him, he has the speed to recover, get back in place, and make the interception. The other thing I really liked about Christian Gonzales is how he breaks on all these passes. You'll see him cover some ground to intercept a pass. He'll break from 10, 15 yards away, close the gap, and then arrive just as the pass is arriving and intercept the pass, and then start going the other way with it, because he's so good at breaking on routes. Before the ball even leaves the quarterback's hands, Christian Gonzales is T-stepping in the direction he needs to go. He's closing the gap. He's breaking on the pass. And just as the quarterback is, getting the ball to the receiver's hands, guess who jumps in front of the receiver? Is Christian Gonzales. Breaks on it, intercepts the pass, starts going the other way. I mean, when you have a defender like that can make those type of plays, it's going to add a spark to your defense. Bill Belichick knows that. Bill Belichick knows the game better than anybody. He's the greatest coach of all time. Where Bill Belichick is now, he has to prove that he's still elite. We all know he's the greatest coach of all time. But since Brady left, he's still trying to prove that he's the same elite coach on the defense side of the ball. Even though, like I said, he's a head coach, he's basically the defensive coordinator because he calls the defensive plays. So he's trying to prove that he can still be elite as a head coach and that he still got it without Tom Brady. He wants to prove that he can still compete for Super Bowls without Tom Brady. In order for the Patriots to do that, in order for Bill Belichick to do that, they have to get it done on the defensive side of the ball. That's why he went with Christian Gonzales. He wants more interceptions. He wants to be more physical on the defense side of the ball. He wants a guy that can step in and be a a cornerstone piece for this franchise for the next 10 years. Christian Gonzales looks like a guy that's capable of doing that since he's already been the best corner on the Patriots roster. It looks like they have a new number one. Remember some of the guys they've had, Stephon Gilmore was there. They've had some good players throughout the years. Well, Christian Gonzales, it sounds like he's going to be the next guy in line to kind of carry that torch for the Patriots defense. Really, that's all I got for today, though. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check out the Cross the Middle show wherever podcasts are found. I'm John Kuzma. I'm signing off.